Hi everyone, welcome to Vedantu J English. I'm Diksha Kaushal, your chemistry master teacher, and let us start this video without wasting any time.
So, are we all ready for the last minute revision? Are we all ready for the last minute revision? Yes. Okay, so let us start the last minute revision. Okay, so firstly, bacha, starting with, I'm not gonna waste even 1 minute here. Okay, so let's not talk now. Let's focus on our last minute revision, right? Okay, so firstly, these are the formulas. This is mole fraction, that is number of moles of that component divided by total number of components, and the mole fraction of all the components is equals to unity. Now, next is molarity. Molarity is equals to number of moles of solute divided by volume of solution in liters. The units here are liters, not milliliters. Okay, and the volume is of solution. Okay, molarity is number of moles of solute divided by mass of solvent. Here we are taking mass, and that too of the solvent, that is in kilograms. Okay, not in grams, this is in kilograms. So these two formulas are very important for your solution chapter, colligative properties. Okay, next is Henry's law. Now, what is Henry's law? P is equals to kh mole fraction. This is Henry's constant, this is a mole fraction, and this is the partial pressure, right? Okay, so Henry's law also states that pressure is directly proportional to the solubility factor. So Henry's law has lots of application to it because of more is the pressure, more is the solubility. So here we have 4 application. First is cold drinks. Okay, when we dissolve carbon dioxide under high pressure, that is the Henry's law application. We dissolve carbon dioxide under high pressure so that the solubility of gas is increased in that solution. Next is scuba diving. Know about what happens to scuba divers? They go inside the sea. Inside the sea, pressure is very low, so the pressure is very high, so the solubility is very high. Now, when they come out of the sea, then pressure decreases, solubility decreases. Now, what is going to happen? Pressure decreases, solubility decreases, right? This leads to a thing that is called bends. Okay, that is called bends. To avoid this situation, their tanks is filled with helium and nitrogen. Okay, next is anoxia. What is anoxia? When we go at high altitude, their pressure is low. At high altitude, pressure is low, so the solubility is low. That makes it very difficult for us to inhale. That is the condition of anoxia. Next is fishes in cold water. Now, why fishes survive in cold water? Why they prefer cold water? The reason is Henry's law. Why? Because as the temperature is low, so the temperature is low, that means the solubility is very high. Okay, temperature is low, this means solubility is high, right? We are talking about gases here, right? So, fishes needs oxygen to inhale, right? So oxygen is dissolved in the cold water more easily as compared to the hot water, because lower the temperature, higher is the solubility, right? Okay, that is why fishes feel easy to inhale in cold water. Next is the solubility here. These are the relationship of solubility. First is solids and liquids. So if you're dissolving solid in liquid, what will happen? As a solid is incompressible, so applying the pressure, or increasing or decreasing the pressure, no issues with that. Okay, there is no effect to that. Next is increasing the temperature. So we know temperature has an inverse relation with solubility in case of exothermic reaction. In case of endothermic reaction, it has a direct relation. Temperature increases, solubility increases, right? Next is gases and solid. That is where this Henry law is based upon, right? Okay, so gases and liquid. When we increase the pressure, you are applying the pressure. Okay, this is the thing. Do you have this beaker filled with gas? You are applying the pressure here. You are applying the pressure. That means the molecules are actually getting more solubility here. The molecules are nearer to each other, right? That is why solubility increases here. So if you're increasing the solubility, if you're increasing the temperature, that means now kinetic energy is more, so the solubility decreases here, right? Okay, so this is the relation of solubility in case of gases, right? Next we have four formulas for colligative properties. We have four colligative properties that are directly to number of moles of solute, or you can say number of particles of solute. That is more specific, right? Okay, next is relative lowering. What happens here in colligative property? Vapor pressure decreases, boiling point increases, freezing point decreases. Okay, so we have four colligative properties in total. First is relative lowering in vapor pressure. This is the P naught minus P by P naught. This is lowering in vapor pressure. This whole term is called relative lowering in vapor pressure. That is directly proportional to mole fraction of solute. Okay, by 2 I am representing solute, by 1 I am representing solvent. That is directly proportional to mole fraction. Okay, mole fraction of solute. Right. Next, we're talking about elevation of boiling point. Boiling point is increasing when we are adding non-volatile solute here, right? Okay, here in this case, Kb is the alebbioscopic constant or molar elevation constant here, right? This is also called alebbioscopic constant, and this M is the molality. Now, elevation in boiling point and depression in freezing point, that depends on the molality. Okay. Now, again, this is delta Tf is equals to Kf. This is called cryoscopic constant. This is cryoscopic constant or molar depression constant. Right? M is the molality here. Right? Formulas are exactly the same. Next is, one more thing here. Here delta T is equals to T naught F minus Tf, and delta Tb is equals to Tb minus T naught B. Next we have osmotic pressure. For osmotic pressure, pi is equals to CRT. Here we have molarity. Right? Here we have molarity, not molality. Here we have molarity. Okay. This is equals to pi is equals to number of moles by volume RT. Right? Understood this? Yes. Perfect. Next, bacha, everyone here. Next we have, if we are adding, if there is dissociation or there is association, right? In that case, we will add another factor, that is Bond-Hoff factor here. Bond-Hoff factor will be included in the equation where there is number of particles. That means here I will apply Bond-Hoff factor in mole fraction. Here in case of molality, here in case of that will be multiplied by molality. This will be multiplied by molarity. That means Bond-Hoff factor will be multiplied by concentration terms. Okay. Now, ma'am, how to calculate Bond-Hoff factor? So there are few formulas to calculate Bond-Hoff factor. Now, bacha, this is the definition of Bond-Hoff factor. That is observed colligative property divided by calculated colligative property. Number of particles after association or dissociation by number of particles before. Normal molecular mass by abnormal molecular mass. Right? These are the definitions. Now, how do we calculate that? So, in case of dissociation, everybody, I is always greater than 1. For example, MgCl to NaCl. Here, I is always greater than 1. Right? So, in that case, this is equals to alpha is equals to alpha is degree of dissociation is equals to I minus 1, N minus 1. N is what? The number of particles that it gets dissociated into. Right? NaCl has N is equals to 2. MgCl has N is equals to 3. Okay? Like that. Now, degree of association, that is alpha is equals to when we are associating. For example, acetic acid is forming dimer here. Right? Okay? That is alpha is equals to I minus 1 divided by N, 1 minus N minus 1. Here I is always less than 1. Understood this? Okay, bacha, any problem till now? Any problem? Yes, sorted? Okay. Now, please bear with my voice because it's already gone, right? Okay. Now, these are the few examples here. Everyone, these are the few examples. Positive deviation, you have these examples. Negative deviation, you have these examples. Now, ma'am, in positive deviation, what happens? A, P interactions here are less as compared to AA, PB interaction. This is the trick to remember the examples here. And here in this case, AB interactions, here in this case, AB interactions are more than as compared to AA and BB interactions. Right? Okay. So now let us see what is positive and what is negative deviation. Okay, ma'am, we have done the examples. Okay. Now, see this carefully. Now, what is Raoult's law? Okay, what is Raoult's law? Raoult's law is nothing that is PT is equals to, this is direct formula. Usually, Raoult's law states that partial pressure of A is equals to partial pressure of any component is equals to its P pure state, it's vapor pressure in pure state multiplied by the mole fraction. Okay, this is the Raoult's law. Now when we add the total pressure of A and B, when we are mixing component A and B, the total pressure is equals to pressure of A plus pressure of B. Now we are converting that into mole fraction of just one thing. So how will we write it? Mole fraction bracket P naught minus P naught plus P naught. Okay, if you want to calculate in terms of A, just write it A, B, B. If you want to calculate in terms of B, just write B, B, A. Yes, very simple thing to learn this formula, right? Next is osmosis. Now, what is osmosis? Osmosis is the movement of solvent particles from higher concentration to lower concentration. If you are applying external pressure to stop this, that is called osmotic pressure, and that osmotic pressure is equals to CRT. That is the fourth colligative property, right? If you are applying external pressure more than the internal pressure, in that case, we are not only stopping that osmosis, we are reversing that. Okay, this is used in desalination of the water, right? Okay, here the movement of solvent particles will be from low concentration to high concentration, right? Okay, now next thing is electrochemical cell. Okay, electrochemistry. First chapter is completed here. Okay, first chapter we have completed the first chapter here. We have completed the first chapter here. Before that, I'll just add on one thing here. Bacha. One thing is left. That is, wait. One thing is left here. That is ideal. This is ideal. This is positive. This is positive. And this is negative division. Just one thing is left here. I'm going to write it here. Here in this case, PT is greater than PA plus PB. Partial pressure increases here. Here PT is less than PA plus PB. Here we have delta V mixing and delta H mixing. These two are greater than 0. Here we have delta H mixing and delta V mixing, that is less than 0. Okay, for negative division. Here we have, in both the cases, in ideal, in non-ideal, any kind of solution, delta S is always greater than 0 and delta G is always less than 0. Delta S is always greater than 0. Delta G is always less than 0. This happens with any ideal, non-ideal, any kind of solution. Right? Okay. Now, next thing, I think we have done almost everything. Here, AB interactions are less than AA and BB interactions. Here, AB interactions are more than AA and BB interactions. That's it. If you know these things, you will be able to solve the answer. And also know the examples. Okay. Examples are also very important for this. Now, next thing is electrochemical cell. Let us talk about electrochemistry. You have two kind of cell. First is electrochemical, second is electrolytic cell. Okay, electrochemical cell is where chemical energy is getting converted to electrical. Here electrical to chemical. This is a spontaneous cell, that is why delta G is negative. This is non-spontaneous cell, delta G is greater than, this is positive. Right? Now, this is a very important that usually students mark this wrong. Very important thing here, that anode here is negative, cathode here is positive. How do we learn this? LOAN, that is loss of electron, oxidation, anode. Anode is a negative electron. Here things are opposite. Okay, here anode is a positive electron and cathode is a negative electron. Right? This is like electrolysis of NaCl, molten NaCl, electrolysis of copper sulfate solution, electrolysis of NaCl. Right? All these things. Right? Next we have Daniell cell. That is a electrochemical cell, right? This is also galvanic cell. This is also called galvanic cell, voltaic cell, all these things, right? Okay, now, here in this case, we take two things here. This is a beaker, okay? This is a beaker. I'll just write it here. as this is just for revision, right? I am not explaining it that much in detail. There will be a salt bridge here. Okay, there will be a salt bridge here. This is oxidation half cell, this is reduction half cell. In oxidation half cell, we have taken zinc here. Zinc is going to lose electron at anode, and cathode, that is reduction half cell, here copper is going to gain the electron. So zinc is going to have zinc electron is going to be thin here. With time it is going to be thin, and copper electrode is going to be thick with time, right? Okay, we have done this. Now what is the flow of electron? That is from oxidation to reduction half cell. Okay, oxidation half cell is always on the left side. How to remember this? RR, that is R for reduction, R for right side. Reduction is always on the right side. Okay, and reduction is for the cathode, right? Okay, yes. Electrons flow anode to cathode, that is zinc to copper. Now current is opposite to the electrons. We have done this in physics. Now next question that they can ask you, if you apply they're talking about Daniell cell, if you are applying voltage that is more than 1.1 volt, in that case electrons will have the reversal flow here. Earlier they were flowing from zinc to copper, now they will flow from copper to zinc. Now if you are applying voltage, that is external voltage is less than this, nothing will happen. The current will, the electrons will go as they were going before. Okay, that is zinc to copper, the original flow here. Now if the external voltage is exactly equal to 1.1 volt, in that case cell is going to stop here, right? Okay, next question, that is how to represent it. In representation, always remember this is oxidation half cell, reduction. Okay, but this is LOAN. You can say loss of electron, this is loss of electron, or you can say left side, this is oxidation, this is anode, and this is negative electron. Negative electron. Okay, these things are very important for you, right? Left side is oxidation, that is anode. Here you will have loss of electron, right? And now we will make one reactivity series here, right? I have done the reactivity series part also. Now bacha, reactivity series, what you will see, more is the reduction potential. That thing wants to get reduced here. That means it will oxidize the other thing. That means the oxidizing power is very high and the reducing power of other thing will be very low. Okay, so here more is the reduction potential, more is the oxidizing power, and less is the reducing power here. Next is how to calculate E naught cell here. E naught cell is equals to E cathode. This E cathode minus E anode. Now this cathode and anode both are the reduction potential, not the oxidation potentials. Now ma'am, how do we know that this is a reduction potential or an oxidation potential? If you have E, A positive to A, this is your reduction potential. Okay, this is gain of electrons. If you have EA to A plus, this is loss of electron, this is oxidation potential, and they are always just difference of negative sign here. That's it. Okay, so always carefully see if you are given reduction potential or oxidation potential. Here you need to put reduction potential, not oxidation potential. Right? Okay, we are dealing with reduction potentials here. Right? Next thing that we have is Nernst equation. Right? You students, this is very important. They will definitely ask you questions. It's not possible to make a paper where Nernst equation is not applied. Okay, very important. Now this is, how do we learn this? Now this is in natural log, and this is in when we are adding. If we are adding log base to 10, there will be 2.303, right? That will be 2.303 RT NF log base to 10 oxidation by reduction. Now the trick here is always, here you will have on the above, you will have oxidation, and here you will have reduction. Oxidation by reduction. And now this whole thing is called QC. This whole thing is called reaction quotient, right? This is at a particular temperature, that is 25 degrees Celsius. Now this is a very simple equation. E cell is equals to E naught cell. E naught cell, how to calculate? E naught cathode minus E naught anode minus 0.0591 by N. N is the number of electron gain and loss. And always the number of electron gain and loss should be equal. Okay. For example, in cathode side, at cathode side, you have 2 electrons that are gaining, and at anode side, you have 3 electrons that you gain. So N will be is equals to 3 into 2, that is 6. Okay, always see number of electrons gain and loss should be equal here, right? Okay, next thing that we have, if at equilibrium we say Always remember one more thing. At equilibrium, E cell is equals to 0, not E naught cell. Okay, E cell is equals to 0, delta G is equals to 0, not delta G naught. Okay, E cell and G is equals to 0. Okay, not the standard conditions. So here applying E cell is equals to 0 here, and when equilibrium, reaction quotient is equals to equilibrium constant. So here I'll write E naught cell is equals to 0.0591 by n log Kc. This is also asked in your exam. Very, very important. Everything that I am teaching you today is very important. Okay. So now next is Gibbs free energy, or they can also ask you one more thing here, that is maximum work. That is maximum work done. Okay, maximum work done or Gibbs free energy is equals to minus NF E naught cell. E naught cell again, E naught cathode minus E naught anode. Now this is another equation that you can apply. This question is not usually asked. This question is asked in your exam. Okay, right? Okay. Next is for spontaneous reaction, delta G is negative. If delta G is negative, apply it here. E will be positive. For non-spontaneous, delta G is positive, and if delta G is positive, E will be negative here. Right? Next thing, bacha, we have conductance. Any problem till now? Can I drink some water now? Can I drink some water? Yes? Okay, perfect. Any problem? Okay, now see this. Now, bacha, see this very carefully. Now you have conductance related questions. Okay, for conductance, you just need to remember this particular formula. Just remember this formula. That's it. No other formula. R is equals to rho L by A. R is the resistance. Rho is the resistivity. Okay. Resistance is for whole mixture and resistivity is for one unit volume. Similarly, conductance is for whole solution and conductivity is for one unit volume. Okay. How do you represent conductance and conductivity? Everyone here, there is another formula. G star is equals to kappa. Now I'm writing one thing here. That is, that is written here. R is equals to resistance, rho is resistivity, C is conductance. Okay, C is conductance, or you can also write it here. G is the conductance. I'm writing G is the conductance. That would be much easy for you. G is the conductance, right? G is the conductance and kappa, this is kappa. Kappa is the conductivity. Now, ma'am, what is G star? What is G star? That is cell constant. That is cell constant, that is equals to L by E. Okay, that is equals to L by E. If you know these four terms, how to denote the symbols, and you just need to remember this formula and you remember this formula. Okay, things will be sorted. Now, for kappa, kappa is a conductivity for unit volume. Now, if you say what is molar conductivity, what is equivalent conductivity, that is for one normal and for one normal and one molar solution. Right, this is molar conductivity, this is equivalent conductivity. That is equals to kappa into 1000 by molarity, kappa into 1000 by normality. Now here again, very important point, that is kappa is equals to, kappa must be in Simon centimeter, not in Simon per meter. Right? If this is in per centimeter, in that case, it will be multiplied by 1000. If it is in meters, that will not be multiplied by 1000. Okay, see this very carefully. Usually they will give you this in kappa in Simon centimeter only, right? Okay, now next is limiting molar conductivity, right? For strong electrolyte, if you want to see this graph, for strong electrolyte, the graph is like this. For strong electrolyte, the graph is like this. For weak electrolyte, the graph is like this. Okay, the graph is like this. Okay, that will be parallel to y-axis, right? These are the two graphs which are very important for you. Next is for limiting molar conductivity. For strong electrolyte, it is very easy to calculate, but for weak electrolyte, we use Coriolis law, right? Here, if you calculating degree of dissociation, they will ask you this question, okay? If they're asking something about molar conductivity, they'll ask you find out the degree of dissociation. Alpha is equals to limiting molar that is molar conductivity at concentration C, at any concentration C, that you will find out from this formula. Right? After that, divided by limiting molar conductivity. Okay, ma'am? So, this thing, that is molar conductivity at concentration C, is equals to this one, that is kappa into 1000 by molarity. How do we calculate this? And also next is the dissociation constant is equals to C alpha square. Just ignore 1 here. Ignore the alpha part here because alpha is very less as compared to 1 here. Okay. Now one thing more, bacha. One more thing, that is, wait. That is. Just wait. That is called Law's law. Now see this very carefully. What is called Law's law? How do you calculate limiting molar conductivity? For Law's law state that the limiting molar conductivity of a compound is equals to the molar conductivities of the anions plus cations multiplied by the stoichiometry coefficients. Okay, so this is the Coriolis law. This is the Coriolis law. Next bacha we have the conceptual question. Okay, there are two type of conceptual question that can be formed here, right? First is how conductance vary. Okay, conductance is a sample paper question. Okay, conductance varies with more the number of ions, more is the conductance. If the temperature is increased, conductance is increased. Okay, not conductivity. If the temperature increases, conductance increases, right? Okay, not conductivity decreases. Next is acidic and basic strength. More the acidic strength, okay, more will be the H positive ion given, more will be the ions. More the basic strength, more will be the OH negative, more will be the ions here. Size of naked ion. Size of naked ion means, okay, that is not hydrated ion. Okay, that is directly proportional to the size of naked ion, inversely to the size of hydrated ion. To the size of hydrated ion. Okay, inversely to the size of hydrated ion. Right? Now, strong electrolyte, it is like 100% dissociation it gives. That is why strong electrolyte has more conductance as compared to weak electrolyte. Now, on dilution, everyone here, on dilution, everything increases, just conductivity decreases. Okay, very important thing, very important thing. On dilution, when you are adding the water, why so, ma'am? What is the reason? Conductance and conductivity are the same. Because, bacha, in the whole mixture, the ions increases. Okay, the ions are getting increased. But when we are talking about conductivity, when we are talking about 1 unit volume, in that case, the distance is more. So, in that case, the ions will be less in that unit volume. That is why we are saying conductivity, kappa decreases, everything else, conductance, molar conductivity equivalent, everything else increases here. Right? Next is the Faraday's law. Right, Faraday's law, first law, second law. Now, what is Faraday's first law? Faraday's first law, this is the weight deposited, that is equals to ZID. I is the current, T is the time here. Okay, now that is equals to equivalent weight by Faraday, and equivalent weight is equals to molecular weight by N. N is the number of electron lost or gained, right, by that atom, by that metal, right, and that is also called electrochemical equivalence. Okay, right. Now, second law is, if those cells are in series, in that case, if those cells are in series, in that case, weight of metal A divided by weight of metal B equals to equivalent weight of A divided by equivalent weight of B. Or you can say weight of 1 by equivalent weight of 1 is equals to weight of 2 by equivalent weight of 2. Okay, both of these are the right things. Okay, bacha, understood this? Any problem till now? Any problem? Any problem? Yes, we have completed 2 chapters. We have completed 2 chapters in 30 minutes, right? Okay, perfect. Next bacha is chemical kinetics. Next chapter is chemical kinetics. Very simple, very easy chapter. Very simple, very easy chapter. So there are 2-3 things that you must know. Now, for example, you have this kind of reaction. Okay, this is P. Now, in this case, if you want to calculate the average rate, that is equals to minus rate will always be divided by the number of moles. Here, rate of appearance and disappearance will not be divided by the number of moles. That is the main point here. That is a highlighted point here. That we divide, while calculating the rate, we divided by 1 by R, that is number of moles, 1 by P, that is number of moles. And for rate of disappearance, the sign is minus. For rate of appearance, the sign is positive here. Right? When we are calculating rate of reaction, plus is for appearance, minus is for disappearance. This is a formula. That is 1 by moles D of whatever you are talking about divided by dt. Right? That is the rate of reaction. For appearance, we do not divide it by number of moles. Simply we write it, rate of appearance is equals to dB by dt. Rate of disappearance is equals to minus dA by dt. right? Okay, now what is rate of reaction? Okay, rate of reaction, you want to calculate this, that is minus 1 by dv by dt plus, this is the rate of appearance, wait, I have done the opposite to this. Yes, it should be positive here, it should be negative here. Okay, it should be positive here and it should be negative here, because A is getting disappeared here. That should be positive 1 by v dv by dt, right, equals to minus 1 by a dA by dt. That is the rate of reaction for this equation. Now, next we have the order of reaction. Now, this x and y are not related to the stoichiometric coefficient in the reaction. Okay, this is defined experimentally, right? Now you have the rate of reaction, that is it is equals to, this is the rate constant, a raised to power x, b raised to power y. Now x plus y is not equals to a plus c, nothing relation to the stoichiometric coefficient. The addition of x plus y is equals to the order of that reaction. If that is equals to 0, 0 order, 1, 1, first order, second order, right? Now they will ask you what are the rate constant, what is the units of rate constant. So the unit of rate constant is this, that is mole per liter 1 minus n second per second, right? Just apply, n here is order. For example, we are talking about first order reaction, that will be per second. If we are talking about zero order reaction, that will be mole per liter per second. Okay, just put the value of n here and you will get your answer to the units of rate constant, right? Okay, yes bacha, very good, very good, very good beta, very good. Next we have zero order reaction. Okay, we are going to complete the physical chemistry now. Yes, okay, perfect. Now, zero order reaction we are talking about. Zero order reaction is equals to K. Now, zero order, first order, second order. The formulas of all these three, right? And then along with the half-life period. Half-life period is that when 50% of the reactant is consumed, right? Here we have K is equals to initial minus final by T, right? The graph here will be, just apply that, equate this by y is equals to mx plus c. Okay, just equate this by y is equals to mx c. Y will be r here and T will be the x here. You will get the graph, that is this one, negative slope, and this r naught will the intercept here. Okay, just equate this by y is equals to mx plus c. Similarly, for first order reaction, you will have, for first order reaction, this is time here, this is log r here, right? That is equals to, this will be the slope, that is minus k, and this is equals to log, natural log of r naught. This is the graph of first order reaction, right? Next, bacha, we have, just equate it by y is equals to mx plus c beta. Just equate it by y is equals to mx plus c. Now this is a first order reaction. For first order reaction, that is 2.303 natural log base 10 initial by final. Always there is initial by final. One more trick here, that is they will tell you that okay, you have 70% is dissociated. Then how will you apply this formula? That will be K is equals to 2.303 by T natural log. Now 70% is consumed here. 70% is consumed, okay? In that case, the initial that you will take, that will be 100, and the final that will be 70% is consumed, the left amount is 30. So you will apply this formula. This question is also asked in your exams. Okay. Now next thing here is bacha, that is T half. Here T half is directly proportional to, for zero order reaction, directly proportional to the initial concentration. For first order, it is not dependent on the initial concentration. That is equals to 0.693 divided by K. And for second order reaction, the equation here is K is equals to 1 by T, 1 by final by 1 by initial. T half is equals to inversely proportional to the initial concentration. Yes, okay. Now this is another formula of activation energy and temperature. K is equals to A E raised to the power EA by RT. Right? E is the activation energy and K is the rate constant, T is the temperature. For two temperatures here and two rate constants, the formula is log K2 by K1 E by 2.303 R T1 by T2 T1 minus T2 by T1 into T2. Okay, very important formula again. Okay, bacha. Now we have completed physical chemistry. Okay, we have completed physical chemistry here. Now, bacha, we are going to complete here organic chemistry reactions. So, are you all ready? Yes, beta. Ready? Yes, very good. Let us see this. Let us see this reaction. Okay, perfect. Okay, there's no time for rest here. Okay, no rest today. Right? Okay, we have completed the revision for physical chemistry now. Next revision is naming reactions. Okay, next revision is naming reaction. One by one, we are going to do the naming reaction. After that, we are going to do the distinguish test, all this, and after that, we will start off with inorganic and some most important questions of organic chemistry also. Okay, now first is soda lime decarboxylation. Here you have RCONA. This is NaOH. Heated, you will have hydrocarbon, which will be RH. Okay, you will have the hydrocarbon with the same number of alkyl chain, right? Next is Coles electrolysis. Here you will have hydrocarbon, that is RR, right? The hydrocarbon will be the double of alkyl chains, right? Next is Woods reaction. Woods reaction, Woods fatigue reaction and fatigue reaction. Three are similar. In Woods reaction, both are alkyl, right? Both are alkyl halide. Using the dry ether, you will have RR here, that is alkene here. And when we are talking about Woods fatigue reaction, one is aryl, one is alkyl. One is aryl, one is alkyl. Everything else is same. We put sodium here and then dry ether. You will have the combination of these two, that is R, and this is the phenyl part here. Next is fatigue reaction. Both are going to be the aryl part here, and you will have the formation of phenyl, diphenyl or biphenyl here. Yes, bacha. Next question is Reed's reaction. For Reed's reaction, beta, this is one is Darson reaction. This is the Darson reaction. Okay. Wait. I'm writing here Darson reaction. Here you have RX. That is, here you have ROH, right? SOCl2. Here you have RCl plus SO2 plus HCl. Okay. So this is if you want to convert alcohol to alkyl halide. Yeah, if you want to convert alcohol to alkyl halide, that is thionyl chloride and this is sulfonyl chloride. This is Reed's reaction. This is Darson reaction. This is Darson reaction. Yes, bacha? Okay. Now, next thing that we are going to do here, that is Clemmensen reduction. Okay, beta. Next thing that we have is Clemmensen reduction. For that, you have carbon double bond in the presence of zinc amalgam and acidic condition. This will be converted to CHO here, that is hydrocarbon. With Wolff-Kishner reduction, the same product and reactant, but there is difference in the reagents, that is hydrazine in the basic condition. Next, you have Filkenstein reaction. In Filkenstein reaction, bacha, you have RX, that is, this is halogen exchange reaction, okay? You will have RX where X is equals to chlorine or bromine, okay? Chlorine or bromine. You will put NaI and acetone, that will be converted into Ri here, right? Okay? Next, bacha, we have next question that we have, that is Schwarz reaction, where again this is a halogen exchange reaction, where you have the formation of RF. Here also X is equals to chlorine or bromine, right? And these are the inorganic fluoride. And these are the inorganic fluorides. Yes, bacha, understood this, and you will have the formation of alkyl fluoride, which is otherwise very difficult to form here, right? Okay, next we have Borodin-Hunsdücker reaction. Here RCOAG, right, that is silver salt of carboxylic acid is converted into RBr, alkyl bromide. Here we add Br2 and CCl4 and you will have RBr here. Next, bacha, we have Gattermann reaction. There is difference between Gattermann and Gattermann-Koch. In Gattermann-Koch reaction, you have benzene to benzaldehyde. This is your disonium salt that will be from aniline, that you will form from aniline, right? Add HBr. If you are talking about Gattermann reaction, just add powder here. That is copper powder plus HBr, you will have bromobenzene. If you add copper powder plus HCl, you will have chlorobenzene. Cyanide is not formed here. That means you cannot form this thing. Okay. This thing will be formed in case of Sandmeyer's reaction. In case of Sandmeyer's reaction, you will be able to form cyanide here by using CuCN and KCN. Right. This is N2CN HBr CO2 and this is the salt here. In Sandmeyer reaction, you use salt and the same thing will be formed as in case of Gattermann reaction. Yes, bacha, understood this? Yes, beta, understood this. One more thing here that I want to add. If you are reacting diazonium salt with Ki, then you will have the formation of, this is Ki, then you will have the formation of iodobenzene here, right? Okay, no, there is no name of this reaction. It's just a simple reaction. If you shake this with Ki, then you will have the formation of iodobenzene here. Right now, Ball-Schimann reaction is when you have diazonium salt, right? This aniline will be converted to diazonium salt, and now diazonium salt, when reacted with HBF4 and heated, this will be converted into fluorobenzene. And now, if you are adding another reaction, is this is Ball-Schimann. This that I am doing here is not Ball-Schimann. Okay, I'll just write it here. This is not Ball-Schimann reaction. If you have N2Cl and you are adding HBF4 and then adding NaNO2, then adding copper here, this will be converted to nitrobenzene. Okay, this will be converted to nitrobenzene. Usually students get confused in these two reactions. Okay, then we have Cole's reaction. Here phenol is converted into salicylic acid, right? And by adding NaOH, CO2, NH positive. Next is Ramer-Tiemer reaction. Phenol is converted into salicylaldehyde in presence of chloroform and this one. And here you have electrophile, that is CCl2, that is dichlorocarbene. And also, if you are using CCl4 here, then you will have the formation of carboxylic. Then you will have the formation of salicylic acid. Okay, then you will have the formation of salicylic acid, right? Okay, now next is Williamson synthesis reaction. Here you have the formation of ether. Why I am writing it wrong, right? Here you have the formation of ether. And one very important thing, very important thing here, that alkyl halide should be primary halide. Okay, because this will follow a transition state mechanism, that is SN2 mechanism here, and that way it should have less steric hindrance. That is why alkyl halide should always be primary halide here, right? Okay, next is Dow's process. As this bond is very difficult to break, because of the double bond character, the sp2 character of this carbon, and because phenyl cation is not stable. This question can also be asked in the question paper. Okay, because there are three reasons: double bond character, this carbon is sp2 hybridized, so that is why this carbon and CCl bond is difficult to break, and third is phenyl cation is not stable. Okay, what is phenyl cation? The cation, this one is not stable. This cation is not stable. This cation is unstable. This cation is unstable. Right now, there are lots of drastic conditions, that is NaOH. This is 623 Kelvin, 300 atmospheric pressure. That means to break this bond, you need drastic condition here. Then you will have the formation of phenol. And the main important part here is, if you are adding NO2 group, that is electron withdrawing group at ortho and para position, NO2 group at ortho and para position, conditions decreases. Okay, drastic conditions here decreases. The temperature here required will be less here. If you're talking about 2,4,6 nitrochlorobenzene, in that case you will just warm this and you will have your picric acid, right? Understood this? Okay, at meta position it doesn't matter, because at meta position we do not have any negative charge in the resonating structures. Next is Helmholtz-Zelinsky reaction, that is HBZ reaction. In this case, alpha hydrogen will be replaced by the halogen that you have added here. I have added chlorine here, so alpha hydrogen will be replaced by chlorine here. Yes, next we have Stephen's reduction. This is Stephen reduction. This is not Stephen reduction, but this is actually same to Stephen reduction only, because the reagents are quite similar. This is RCN is converted to RCHO using SnCl2 and acid. Here you have RNO2 is converted to RNH2 using SnHCl and FeHCl. Okay, you can use either tin or you can use iron. Here iron is preferred because iron with HCl it forms FeCl2, which on hydrolysis form HCl. Right? That is why we need HCl. HCl required from outside is less here. Right? So that is why FeCl is preferred here. Fe is preferred here. Next is Rosenband reduction. For Rosenband reduction, acyl chloride is converted into, this is hydrogen, okay? It is converted into aldehyde. It is converted into aldehyde. And here we use Lindlar's catalyst, that is H2. H2 in the presence of a catalyst, and this is acting as a poison. This is acting as a poison. This is acting as a poison, right? We can also use CaCO3 or quinoline in presence in place of this BaSO4, right? Next is alkyne. Now this Lindlar's catalyst, another use of this Lindlar's catalyst is that it converts alkyne to cis-alkane. If you want to convert alkyne to transalkene, in that case you will do the Birch reduction here. Birch reduction, that is liquid ammonia, right? Liquid ammonia and metal, that is Na or lithium, right? Okay, these two are not important for your 12th exam, so you can leave it also, but this is important. For your 12th exam, right? Next is Gattermann-Koch reaction. As I already told you, formyl chloride, that is HCOCl, is not stable. Formyl chloride is not stable. That is why we use carbon monoxide and HCl, which is going to give us formyl chloride here immediately. That is going to be consumed in this reaction, right? And we will have the formation of benzaldehyde here from the benzene. Next we have is a tard reaction, that is toluene to benzaldehyde. Here we are using chromyl chloride, that is red in color, in presence of inorganic solvents, right? Next is Hofmann-bromamide degradation. In that case, you will have a degraded amine, right? That is CO will vanish from here. You will have the formation of RNH2. The reagents here are Br2 and QH, right? Okay, or you can also, that can also be written, that is KOBr can also be written here, right? Next is Hofmann ammonolysis. In that case, this excess, in the excess of this alkyl halide, that will be converted, ammonia will be converted to 1 degree, then to 2 degree, then to 3 degree, then to quaternary ammonium salt. Yes. Next we have Gabriel phthalimide reaction. Very important reaction of amine. Very important reaction, right? In this, firstly we are taking, this is phthalimide, this is phthalimide. Adding KOH, this H will be replaced by K positive. Then adding R, this K positive will be replaced by R. Then adding NaOH also. The third step here will be aqueous NaOH. Aqueous NaOH. Then these two bonds will break here and you will have the formation of phthalic acid. And this is for 1 degree amines. This is for 1 degree amines. Very important, only for 1 degree amines. Yes, bacha. Next we have Mendius reduction. That is, if you want to convert, if you want to reduce this cyanide, use Na in presence of alcohol like ethanol, right? You can also write it here, zinc amalgam. Okay? Zinc amalgam in presence of ethanol, right? You will have RCN will be converted to, reduced to RCH2 NH2, right? This is Mendius reduction. Next is oxymercuration demercuration. So there are 3 methods. First is one by one. Let us do this one by one. If you have acid catalyzed, if you are forming alcohol using acid catalyzed hydrolysis, in that case the method will be carbocation, right? And the rearrangement of carbocation will take place. Second method is this one. That is, if you have alkene and you're doing the oxymercuration demercuration, in that case it will follow Markovnikov rule. Markovnikov means the negative part of the less number of hydrogen, right? And in case of hydroboration oxidation, it is going to follow anti-Markovnikov rule. That means negative part on the more number of hydrogen. Any problems till now? We are almost going to complete the naming reaction here. Okay. Now, next is ozonolysis, right? How to do ozonolysis? Very simple trick, I'll tell you. Very simple trick. There are 2 kind of ozonolysis. First is reductive, then there is oxidative. For reductive, they will give you O3 and in presence of some zinc catalyst, right? Zinc, right? And in oxidative, you will be given H2O2, right? Okay. So here, just break this bond and add, just break this bond, that's a CH, and add double bond O. This will be CH2 double bond O. right? So here write it in a good manner. This is CH, this is CH double bond O, and this is double bond O, and this is H, right? So you have the reduction, those ozonces reduction, reductive ozonces, the product are this. Just break this double bond and add double bond O, right? If you want to do oxidative ozonces, this is CH3, this is C, this will be OH, okay? Replace H with OH. Replace H with OH from the reductive products here, okay? This one, and this will be OH, OHC, OH, and this will be double bond. This is H2, this is H2CO3. This is H2CO3, right? Okay, which will be further dissociated into H2O, and which will be further dissociated into H2O and CO2. You will see these kind of things in your books, right? Okay, very simple method. Now next is aldol condensation. Very important, very simple thing. That is, join carbonyl carbon of one carbon. For example, if you're doing self-aldol, cross-aldol, just one thing. Join, if I am taking of this is the first molecule, this is the second molecule. If I am considering this as the first molecule, join the carbonyl carbon of first molecule, that is this carbon, with the alpha carbon of second. So what is the product that I am going to form here? That is CH3, this carbon here, this is double bond, this is it. Okay, this is again with this one with the double bond. Okay, with other with a double bond. Okay, I am doing this with a double bond. So how to do this? This double bond O, this O will be replaced by this carbon here, right? Okay, so I am writing this carbon here, and then it is connected to C double bond OH. And now fill the valency of this carbon, that is one hydrogen. That is CH, right? And you have your answer here. Okay, this is going to be the answer. Okay, bacha, understood this? This is going to be the answer. What is the trick? Just join carbonyl carbon of one molecule with alpha carbon of other, right? Okay, if you have cross aldol, same thing will be applied. In cross aldol, there will be multiple products. Okay, there will be multiple products, because if you have A and B, if you have A plus B, two products, A will be reacted with A, B with B, then A with B. First you will take the carbonyl carbon of this one, then you will take the carbonyl carbon of this one and the alpha carbon of this one, right? Alpha of this one. So it will lead to various product here, right? Okay, and it can lead to more products if you have something like this. If you have something like this, CH3, C double bond O, CH2, CH3. So here you have two kinds of alpha. It will lead to more multiple products there, right? Okay. Next is Cannizzaro reaction. Cannizzaro reaction is one molecule to alcohol, other molecule to sodium salt of carboxylic acid. For example, you have one carbon, so one molecule to alcohol, that means methanol. Okay, just write one methanol here and write one carboxylic salt here. That is same number of carbon. You have one number of carbon, one carbon here, so this will be HCONA, right? That is sodium salt of carboxylic acid with same number of carbons. Okay, understood this? Yes. Next we have very important thing here, bacha, very important. If we're talking about plus M and minus M, so we have completed the reactions. Now I am going to talk about plus M and minus M of the important things from GOC, right? That is, if you're having plus M will be, the indication will be ring will be attached to a group that has lone pairs. Okay, in that case it is going to show plus M. For example, these are the group that shows plus M here, right? They all have lone pair, right? These are ortho para directing. Then if you're talking about minus M here, usually they are activating and these are deactivating. Minus M means this is attached to a group that is further attached to a atom with a double bond. But now this A is more electronegative as compared to this G, right? For example, if you are talking about this C double bond OH, and if you are talking about C double bond OH, right? These are meta-directing because this is attached to a carbon and carbon is further attached to an oxygen, which is more electronegative with a double bond. So it is going to take away the electrons and it is going to show minus M effect here. And minus M effect show meta-directing. It is meta-directing in nature. So this is going to, I'm talking about electrophilic substitution here. This is going to help you in so many reactions of phenols and aldehyde, carboxylic acid, everything, right? Okay. Now the exceptional part here is halogen shows minus I and plus N. Halogen show minus I and plus N, but only in case of, usually mesomeric effect is dominating, but only in this case inductive effect is dominating. That is why for halogens we write that this is ortho-para-directing because of the plus M, but it is deactivating. Very important thing. Okay, it is deactivating because of minus I dominance, but it is ortho-para-directing because ortho-para or meta-directing is decided by the mesomeric effect, right? Next is the para is always major. Always when you have ortho-para-directing groups, in that case para is always the major because of the symmetry. But only in this case, except for this case, whenever you have hydrogen bonding, in this case, in case of ortho-nitrophenol, you will have major product, ortho as the major product, right? Next are which are two most important reactions. Whether you have a lot of reactions, but these are reactions for last minute revision. These two are most important reactions. Okay, now if you have a carbonyl compound and you have NH2Z here, Z can be anything, you have a proper chart in your NCERT for this, right? What are the products here? This will be C double bond NZ. This is going to be the product here. Schiff's base, oxime, all these things will be formed from this reaction, right? Now if you have, this reaction is also very important. If you have carbonyl carbon and you have carbon dioxide, okay? Carbon dioxide is also asked in. Carbon dioxide, same method will be used, okay? In case of carbon dioxide, you will have the formation of carboxylic acid, right? What will happen here, bacha? This is negative, this is positive, this is positive, this is negative. It is going to attack here. The electrons are going to jump here, right? So you will have the formation of, so the electrons are, you will have the formation of this bond. This is OMgX and this is R. Okay, after hydrolysis, we are going to have alcohol, right? We are going to have alcohol. And the carbon dioxide I was talking about, same reaction. You will have the same reaction. This is going to attack here and the electrons are going to jump here. Hence, this is double bond. This is O, this is MgX and this is R. Okay, then this will be replaced by H here. Right, this is the first part. One more reaction. Okay, that is the formation of cyanohydrin. That is same reaction. Okay, that is, for example, you have C double bond O and this is this positive part, this is negative part. Always in carbonyl group, this negative part will be attacked here, electrons will jump here and here you will have the formation of cyanohydrin. Okay, always in carbonyl group, positive, negative, okay, right? Next is you have exceptions, okay? Few exceptions that I am going to talk about, okay? Few exceptions that we are going to talk about. Very good, bacha. Now, this COH and NH2, they do not give Friedel-Crafts reaction because here, in Friedel-Crafts reaction, what you have? You have a Lewis acid, right? That is electron deficient. Here, this nitrogen is not so electronegative as compared to phenol. Oxygen. Phenol also have oxygen, but the electrons are very electronegative. Okay, oxygen is very electronegative. So that is why it is not going to donate the electrons to Lewis acid. But here in this case, it is going to donate the electron to the Lewis acid. That is with AlCl3 that we are using in Friedel-Crafts reactions. Okay, that is why it does not give any Friedel-Crafts reaction. The acid will be attached here. Not here. It will not take out the electrophile here, right? And also in this case also, you have C double bond OH. In this case, you have these two lone pairs. Because of the lone pairs, it is not showing Friedel-Crafts reaction. Same, electron rich. It is electron rich. The compound is electron rich. This molecule is electron rich. So, Friedel-Crafts, the Lewis acid is going to attack here. Yes, bacha, understood this? Okay, bacha, tell me, understood this? Yes, beta. Okay. Next is very important, that is aniline. Now, this is an exception that aniline is ortho-para-directing, right? But in case of nitration, it gives 47% meta, 2% ortho, and something 50% para. Why so? What is the reason? So it gives meta product because In acidic condition, in nitration, we use concentrated H2SO4, concentrated HNO3. In that case, it is going to give, in acidic condition, it is going to take H positive from here, and these are going to attack here, and that is why these lone pair are going to attack on this H positive and take the H positive, and that is why it is going to form aniline ion, and this aniline ion is meta-directing, and this aniline ion is meta-directing. That is why we have 47% meta. Right now, how do we have para product here? Right, the same condition here is, do the acetylation. Acetylation is done by acid anhydride plus pyridine. Pyridine is a stronger base as compared to this, right? So it is not going to, these two are not going to react here, right? Okay. Now use pyridine. This will be acetylation is done. After that, do the bromination or the nitration here. You will get the para as a major product. Then add acidic condition. You will have aniline, right? You will have the para substituted aniline in this case, right, bacha? Understood? Yes. Now, everyone here understood, bacha? Yes, beta, understood? Yes, perfect. Now, next is oxidation of alcohol. For oxidation of alcohol, everyone here, strong electrolyte we are talking about 1 degree to COH, 2 degree to ketone, 3 degree to no reaction. Okay, strong electrolyte can be strong, not electrolyte, strong oxidizing agents can be, that is KMNO4, K2Cr2O7, or you can say Jones reagent in presence of H2SO4. CrO3 in presence of H2SO4, right? Mild can be PCC, PDC, right? All these are mild oxidizing agents. Jones reagent in presence of acetone also, right? Okay. If nothing is mentioned, that means Jones reagent is strong oxidizing agent. First, mild oxidizing agent, 1 degree alcohol to CHO, 2 degree to ketone, 3 degree no reaction. And when we are talking about copper here at 3 degree, very important reaction. 1 degree and 2 degree is going to behave as mild oxidizing agent, but for 3 degree, it is going to give us alkene here. MnO2. Okay, you can also avoid this one. But I want you to, know this one. Okay, that is MnO2. This is for allylic or benzylic alcohol only. No other alcohol. If you have benzylic or allylic alcohol, only then there will be oxidation here. Right? Next is hydration of alkynes. Hydration of alkynes, everyone. Very simple thing. Just break the pi bond here. This is CH. This is double bond. Okay, this is C. This is CH3. OH is here. Why? Because positive charge here will be more stable, and 2 here. Then we have, this is the enol form. After the tautomerism, then there will be tautomerism. This is an important reaction. That is why I have written here specially. Right? Okay, there will be tautomerism. This will be CH3, C double bond O, and this is CH3. So hence we will have the formation of ketone here. Right? This is in the formation of aldehyde and ketones. Very important reaction. Next, bacha, we have distinguished test here. Everyone, next we have distinguished test here. Yes, okay. In next half hour, we are going to complete the revision. Okay, we just need 30 more minutes. Okay, just 30 more minutes, and we are going to complete the revision here. Yes, bacha. Okay, perfect. Now for Lucas test for alcohols. Now for distinguished 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree alcohol, you have Lucas reagent, that is ZnCl2. Okay, that is Lucas reagent is ZnCl2 plus HCl. Okay, ZnCl2 plus HCl. 1 degree turbidity will be after prolonged heating, that is totally after 30 minutes. Okay, and 2 degree after 5 minutes, turbidity after 5 minutes. 3 degree turbidity immediately. Okay, turbidity will be formed immediately. Then we have second, that is Tollens test. Tollens test is silver mirror test. Here you have this complex of silver. Okay, you have this silver complex where the oxidation state of silver is +1, and this is converted into silver mirror. And this is very important. This is only for aliphatic and aromatic. This is for aldehyde, both aliphatic and aromatic. Now we are going to talk about Fehling test. Fehling test, beta. Fehling A is copper sulfate solution. Fehling B is Rochelle salt. That is sodium potassium tartrate. Right? Next, beta, very, very important. This is for only aliphatic aldehyde, not for aromatic aldehyde. Yes, okay. Now bacha, here you have CO2 positive from phelling and phelling B solution. You will have CO2 positive ions here, which will be reduced to Cu2, and red PPT will be formed. Okay, red precipitate of this will be formed. Now, ma'am, what is Benedict solution? Benedict solution is same as this. Just in place of tartrate, we use citrate, right? And the next thing is that phelling solution cannot be stored. Benedict can be stored. Okay, this is same. Given by aliphatic aldehyde, red PPT will be formed. Everything is same. Just that the Rochelle salt is different. The phelling B solution is different, but the PPTs are same. You will have copper 2 positive in Benedict and red PPTs in Benedict. Right? Okay. Next is NaHCO3 test, sodium bicarbonate test, that is for carboxylic acid. You will have, there will be a brisk effluence of carbon dioxide, right? Okay, that will tell us that there is NaHCO3, there is presence of carboxylic acid. For iodoform test, very important test, very important test. Okay, for iodoform test, what are the things? How do you identify? This is giving iodoform test. Okay, for aldehyde and ketone, CH3CO group should be there. If you see this group, that will show iodoform test. If you see 2-degree alcohol, secondary alcohol with CH3, that will give iodoform test. If you see ethanol, that will give iodoform test, right? Okay, next thing, bacha, we have reagents. Reagents we use I2NaOH, or we can do I2NaOC, or you can use here NaOX, okay, or you can use NaOH, right? These are the reagents that will be given to you. What is the product form? That is CHI3 is formed, which is giving the yellow precipitates here. Right, bacha? Okay. Next is Hinsberg test. This is for amines that distinguish of 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree. Right. Now, this is the Hinsberg reagent. After reacting with primary, it will have the minus HCl, and you will have the formation of this product, which has one acidic hydrogen. That is why it is soluble in alkali. This is soluble in alkali. This is soluble in alkali. Now, talking about this, here you have this hydrogen and this Cl. They will be removed, right? Hence, you will have this product do not have any acidic hydrogen. So, this is insoluble in alkali. It is insoluble in alkali. Insoluble in alkali. Next, bacha, you have this one. The primary, the tertiary. This is primary, this is secondary, this is tertiary. At tertiary do not have any hydrogen. That is why there is no reaction. Okay, there is no reaction. This is how very important test. Okay, this is a very important test for Hinsberg reagent for distinguish of 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree. Okay, right? Okay. Now next we have azodite test. There's just two reactions. First is disonium salt is reacted with phenol, and para hydrogen, the hydrogen at the para position will be removed, right? Will be minus HCl, and you will have the formation of orange dye here. In case of phenol, you will have orange dye, right? In case of aniline, you will have yellow dye. The color of that dye and what is the compound formed is important. Right here also Cl and HCl will remove from this side, and you will have the formation of yellow dye here, right? Orange dye, yellow dye. Orange for alcohol, for phenol, and yellow for aniline, right? Okay. Yes. Just a minute, just a minute. Just a minute, bacha. Okay. Yes. Okay. Now next is 2,4-DNP test. 2,4-DNP test. Now 2,4-2,4-DNP test. What is this? Just see this very carefully. For 2,4-DNP test, you have carbon. This reacts with this reaction. There will be elimination of water here. There will be elimination of water here, right? Oxygen from this side, H2 from this side, and hence you will have the product formation here. This product, according to the means that according to the aldehyde or ketone what you have, it will give us different colors. Now, if you have colored PPT, that means you have aldehyde or ketone. That means there is presence of a carbonyl group. Okay, that means there is presence of a carbonyl group. That too free carbonyl group. Okay, very important. Next is, that is why glucose do not give this aldehyde, this 2,4-DNP test, right? Next is nitrous acid. For nitrous acid test, the reagent here is HNO2 and NaNO2 or this. Okay, you will have the formation of disonium salt. In case of aliphatic 1 degree, you will have the elimination of N2 gas. In case of aromatic 1 degree, no N2 gas will be released. What is the reason? Because bacha, this RN2Cl, this is very unstable. This is unstable. This is more unstable as compared to this one, as compared to disonium salt. Disonium salt is also unstable, but it still needs some initiation to liberate nitrogen. But this does not need any initiation. It will just, it is so unstable, by the time it is formed, it will liberate hydrogen, nitrogen gas, right? So this is how you're going to distinguish aliphatic and aromatic 1 degree. You can also distinguish other amines, but that is not in your syllabus. Okay, right? Yes. Next, bacha, next we have coordination, D block and bimolecules. Are you all ready for coordination, D block and bimolecules? Yes, very simple. I have just this simple flow chart for you. Okay, see this. See this. First is Werner's theory. Main highlighted point I have discussed here. Okay, best for your revision. I am telling you, best for your revision. Okay, Werner's theory, primary valency is oxidation number, which is ionizable. Secondary valency, it says that it is coordination number, which is non-ionizable. Right? Then we are talking about bidentate and ambidentate. Bidentate, which have two donating sides, and out of that only one is donating at one time. That is either bidentate is when you have two donating sides and out of them both are donating, right? Both are donating at one time. Ambidentate is when we have two donating sides and only one is donating at one time, right? So ambidentate is NO2, NO2 or SCN. These are ambidentates, right? And we're talking about bidentate, ethylene 1,2-diamine, right? That is EN is the bidentate or oxalate is bidentate, right? Okay, very important. Next, what is strong field ligand? Strong field ligands that causes pairing, weak field ligand that causes no pairing. Okay, in weak field ligand there is no pairing. Okay, there is no pairing. Okay, so strong field ligand you have like NH3, CN, CO, OX. These are strong field ligand. Weak field ligand at Cl, F negative. These are weak field ligand. This will help you in VBT theory. Okay, this is going to help you in VBT theory. Okay, so unpaired electron, what is paramagnetism, diamagnetism? Unpaired electron are paramagnetic in nature, paired electron are diamagnetic in nature. How do we calculate the magnetic moment here? That is under root n plus 2. N is the number of unpaired electron, right? This is in the Bohr magneton, right? Next, bacha, we have octahedral. This next is CFT here. Next is CFT. Before CFT, just this is for VBT. Okay, this is for VBT. Before CFT, this is the VBT. VBT, usually you will have, I am 100% sure they will give you either 4 ligands or they will give you 6 ligands. Yes, okay, only these two questions will be asked in the exam. For 4 ligands, you will have either sp3 hybridization or dsp2 hybridization. If sp3 hybridization, that will be tetrahedral, dsp2 that will be square planar. For 6 ligands, that can be octahedral. Okay, if it is d2sp3, that will be inner octahedral. sp3d2, that will be outer octahedral, right? Okay, simple, very simple. Now let us talk about the CFT here. Let us talk about CFT here. Octahedral complexes, bacha. Firstly, we are going to talk about octahedral complexes here. Very important, very, very important. Octahedral and tetrahedral. For CFT, bacha, this is I'm mentioning it here, CFT, right? For CFT, if you're talking about octahedral, there will be 3. There will be degeneracy will be broken, and here you will have dxy divided dzx, that is T2g, and above you will have the higher energy will be of Eg, right? Okay, and the difference is called delta, right? And here the difference is called delta T. And what is the relation between delta T and delta O? That is delta T is equals to 4/9 delta O. Okay, that means delta O is greater than delta T. Okay, delta O is greater than delta T. That is why this always form high spin complexes. Always form high spin complexes because delta this delta, this CFSE, crystal field splitting energy, is so low that it will always form, it will always form high spin complexes. There will be no pairing always, because the distance is so less, the electrons will always jump here, right? Okay, it will always form tetrahedral, always form high spin complexes. And here you have no G here. G is for symmetry, and octahedral complexes are symmetrical, tetrahedral are not symmetrical. Here you have EG, and here above you have T2G, right? Okay, yes. Now another most important thing here is, for octahedral, you can have low spin, you can have high spin complexes. Both can be formed, right? For low spin and high spin complexes, D1, D2, D3, D8, D9, D10. These 6 configurations will have same number of unpaired electron, whether they are in low spin or they are in high spin. Okay? Yes, D1, D2, D3, D8, D9, D10. Okay? Understood? Yes. Yes. Next we have the dependency of CFSE. The dependency of CFSE, bacha, more the oxidation state, more is the CFSE here. And next is 3D has less CFSE as compared to 4D and 5D, right? That is why the difference here, the CFSE is so large that it always makes it very difficult to do the non-pairing here. It will always be pairing, okay? They will always form low spin, there will always be pairing. There will always be pairing. There will always be pairing, right? Okay? Understood? Next is square planar. That is not in your syllabus, but this can be asked, okay? The whole process of square planar is not in your syllabus, right? But this equation can be asked, that CFSE of square planar is more as compared to CFSE of octahedral as compared to CFSE of tetrahedral. And tetrahedral always form, the CFSE is low, so low here that it always form high spin complexes. Always there will be no pairing. No pairing. Now, ma'am, how you are deciding whether there will be pairing or no pairing? There is a simple trick to that. That is, the simple trick here is, if the CFS is high, the gap is high. The gap is high, then there will be pairing, okay? If the gap is high, there will be pairing of electrons, right? CFSE high, gap is high, there will be pairing of electron, and that will, strong field is going to cause high CFSE, right? And if there is a strong field ligand, there is pairing, that will cause low spin complexes. And this also is very important, that in that case, delta O, that means CFSE is more than pairing energy. That is why there is pairing of electrons here, right? Okay, now remember all these things. If you have CFSE low, things will be opposite. Like low CFSE, gap is low, there is pairing is less, that is high spin complexes, weak field ligand, and delta O will be less than pairing, right? Okay, bacha, understood this? Yes. Next, bacha, we have, next, this is the spectrochemical series, bacha. This is the spectrochemical series. Yes, that you need to remember. This is from weak field. This is the strongest field ligand. This is weak field, increasing order of ligand field strength. That is spectrochemical series. Next, we have ionization. Ionization, see this very carefully. Ionization, isomer. These are the isomerization, okay? These are the isomerization. Very simple way I am going to tell you this. Ionization isomer, that means counter ion will be different, okay? That means bromine will be in one molecule, that will be in one compound, it will be inside the coordination sphere. One compound bromine will be as a counter ion. Okay, counter ion is behaving as a ligand and as a counter ion, right? That is ionization isomer. Next, we have solvate or hydrate. Here, H2 will be inside the coordination sphere, and in another molecule that will be outside the coordination sphere. Next is linkage isomer. Linkage isomer will be shown by ambidendant ligand, for example, NO2, and next is ONO. So there are two different linkages. So these two will be the linkage isomers, right? Next is coordination. Here you will have two different coordination spheres, and there will be exchange of ligands. The ligands, for example, in first case you have Cr, this is Cn, right? Okay, and this is CO, and this is NH3. Okay, just an example. And in another case you will have Cr, NH3, and this will be just simple, that is MN6, and this is MX6. Okay, another will be MX6, and this is NY6. Okay, this is the first, and this is MY6, and NH6. This is the difference of coordination. Okay, you will have exchange of ligands here, right? Okay, next example is facial and meridional. What is facial? What is meridional? In case of facial, the ligands in the octahedral geometry are equal, are in the adjacent position. B, 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 A, A, A. And in case of meridional, for example, this is the upper part, this is the lower part. These are the four ligands on the octahedral, on the square planar face, right? So this is the one plane. Here in this case, this B, B, B is on the meridian. Okay, this is in the meridian. Okay, so what is meridian? That is one upper one and two this one. Okay, that will be B, B and B. This is meridional isomer. Okay, this is meridional isomer. Talking about cis and trans, trans are something that are opposite to each other. Cis are when they are adjacent to each other. That is called cis. Main important part is if you have all the ligands different, in that case it is going to show 2 cis and 1 trans. Okay, how it is going to show, we have done it in detail, right? Now is the time to just revise these things. That is 2 cis and 1 trans isomer, right? Okay, next bacha, we have chelation provides stability. Now if they ask you which is more stable out of this and this will be more stable, or they can also ask you CrC2O4, right? This one. Okay, here also this is going to be more stable, because whenever there is chelation, there is ring, there is going to be stability. So chelation is going to provide us the stability. Next bacha is the biomolecule. Okay, 2 chapters left, just 2 chapters left. Yes, okay, everyone here, see this very carefully. This is third, I'm writing it here, very important structures here. Third, always, if you're talking about glucose or you're talking about fructose here, right? In both the cases, third OH is on the left side. Third OH is on the left side, right? Let us talk about the cyclic structures here. Just remember this cyclic structure. And remember this one. That is, if you want to convert Fischer to cyclic, remember this one, that is Dr. That is, right hand side will be down. Okay, if you want to remember this structure only, that is just make a pyranose ring here. Okay, here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here you will say that just on the third carbon you will have OH on the above. Everywhere else you will have OH on the downside. In alpha carbon, in alpha glucose, in alpha D glucose, on the third carbon OH is on the above. Everywhere else OH is on the downside. Yes, okay, make a pyranose ring. Third carbon OH is on the left. That means it is on the left, means upside. Okay, very important. Only the third carbon OH is on the upside, or you can say the left side, right? Okay, everywhere else, first, second and third, fourth position you will have OH on the downside, and fifth position will always be more molecular mass will be above. That is, CH2OH will be above and H will be down, because here we have no OH or H, right? Now in case of beta, there will be difference of C1. Okay, difference of C1, or I am right, alpha and beta, C1 is different. When we are talking about alpha and beta, in any case, C1 will be different here. Okay, here we have C1 where you have OH on the downside. Here we have CH or C1 where OH on the above side. That is called beta D glucose. Right, that is the beta D glucose. Now next we have everyone here. This is alpha galactose. Now what is the difference between galactose and glucose? There is difference in C4. Okay. Now this is glucose and galactose. The difference is in the C4 position. Okay, there is difference in the C4 position. That's it. Everything else is same. If you're talking about alpha glucose, this is alpha galactose. There is difference in this C4 position. This is the C4 position that is different here, right? There is difference in this position. Here you have OH downside, here you have OH upside, right? And what is beta galactose? The difference between beta D glucose and beta D galactose is at C4 position, okay? C4 position, here we have OH downside, here we have OH upside, right? Okay, what we have done till now, glucose OH is on the upper side, everywhere else OH is on the downside. Fifth position, CHOOH is on the upper side, okay? Then what is beta glucose? There is difference in the C1 position. What is the difference between glucose and galactose? There is difference in the C4 position, okay? They are getting reversed here, right? Okay, we have done 4 structures now. Now what is, how to draw the structure of fructose here, okay? Draw this furanose ring here, okay? Then this is going to be the first one. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5 and this is 6, okay? So here you will have the difference of second carbon, okay? Here, okay, bacha, see this very carefully, okay? OH downside, OH upside, OH downside and this one, okay? OH is on the third carbon. Again, in fructose and glucose, things are same. On the third carbon, OH is on the upside, okay? Here also OH is on the upside on the third carbon. Everywhere else OH is on the downside, okay? Everywhere else OH is on the downside. On here fructose, this one carbon that is not in the ring, that is outside the ring, that is CH2OH, and here fifth position is same as glucose, right? Okay, very simple way to learn this, right? Next we have beta fructose. Beta, we have difference in the C2 position here, okay? Here we have difference in the C2 position. Alpha, beta, there is difference in the C2 position. Here C2 we have OH downside and here at C2 OH is on the above side. Okay, yes bacha, these were the structures of monosaccharides. Now let us see disaccharides. Sucrose is linked to C1 of alpha D glucose and C2 of beta D fructose. Lactose is, they can also ask you, lactose is going to give which 2 monosaccharides on hydrolysis. Okay, that will be C1 beta D galactose, C4 beta D glucose. And maltose is having 2 things having related to, see this, sucrose is C1, C2, lactose and maltose is C1, C4. Okay, here you have alpha D glucose, beta D fructose. Here you have beta D galactose, beta D glucose, and maltose you have both the units as alpha D glucose, right? Okay, if you remember this thing, you will be able to draw the structures here. Next thing, bacha, we have very important thing, that is starch. Okay, they can ask you what is starch. Okay, what is the difference between starch and cellulose? What is the difference? Okay, starch is made up of 2 components. One is amylose and another is amylopectin. Amylose and amylopectin both are having alpha D glucose units here. But in amylose, that is a linear structure because it is formed by C1 and C4 linkages of alpha D glucose. And amylopectin is formed by C1, C4 linkages and C1, C6 linkages. That is why this is a branch structure, this is a branched structure, and this is a linear structure. This is a linear structure. Now next thing that you have, glycogen and cellulose. Now what is glycogen? Now first you see this is starch and cellulose. Starch is amylose, amylopectin. Cellulose is made up of C1 and C4 linkages of beta D glucose. Here we use beta D glucose. Here we use alpha D glucose. That is the difference here. Now about glycogen. Glycogen is an animal tissue. Okay, right? When we need glucose, glycogen is converted into glucose. Right? It is same as amylopectin. There is just more branching here. So you will write, this is also formed from alpha D glucose. The linkages here are C1, C4 and C1, C6, but this is more highly branched. Okay, right? Next, bacha, we have cellulose is a plant tissue. Okay, cellulose is a plant tissue. Till now, any problem, bacha, any problem, the notes will be provided to you. Don't worry. Just after this session, I am going to send you a link on the Telegram session. The notes will be provided to you. Okay. Okay, bacha, yes. Next bacha, next you have everyone here Next, you have proteins and amino acids. Let's just talk about proteins and amino acids. Proteins have four structures, okay? Primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary. Primary structure is the peptide linkages because amino acids are connected to each other, forming proteins. They have peptide linkages, and the disaccharides have glycosidic linkages, okay? This is the primary structure where amino acids are peptide linkages. Secondary structure is alpha helix or beta pegate structure. Tertiary is fibrous or globular protein, and fibrous is nothing but insoluble in water like our hair and our nails, right? Globular is that is soluble in water, and quaternary is the highest structure here. When we do the denaturation of protein, then all the structures are destroyed except for the primary structure, right? Okay. Next thing here is what is essential and non-essential amino acid. Essential is that is required to our body that are not synthesized in our body. Non-essential is that are synthesized in our body and we do not require it from outside, right? Okay. Next, bacha, we have nucleotide and nucleoside. What is nucleotide? Nucleotide is base plus sugar plus phosphate group. Nucleoside. In nucleoside, what is side here? Side is the phosphate group. We do not include phosphate group here, right? Okay. Yes. Next, we have DNA and RNA. DNA is made up of beta D2 deoxyribose, and this is made up of beta D ribose. Okay, this is made up of beta D ribose. Here the complementary bases are adenine and thymine, and guanine and cytosine, right? This is adenine, uracil, guanine and cytosine. The difference here is that we have thymine in DNA, and here in place of thymine you have uracil, right? Next is fat soluble and water soluble. Fat soluble are Kida, that is K, vitamin E, vitamin D, vitamin A. Okay, these are fat soluble vitamins. These are fat soluble vitamins. Now, what about water soluble vitamins? All the other vitamins are water soluble vitamins like vitamin C, vitamin B, right? Now, next thing here is that the exception here is that water soluble vitamins are excreted out of the body through urination, but vitamin B12 is the exception where it is stored in our body. Okay, this is the exception except for vitamin B12 which is stored in our body. This is not excreted out of our body through urination. Okay, bacha, understood this? Yes, perfect. Now we are going to do last chapter. So everyone here, are you all ready for the last chapter? Yes, bacha? Yes, bacha. So now we are going to do the last chapter here, that is DNF block, and then you will be free. Then just revise these notes and relax and give your exam. Okay, you don't need to worry about anything. Okay, because bacha, you have given your 100%. You are studying with me. You know everything. Just have faith in you. Just have confidence and just do everything. Okay, just relax and write down your answer in the answer sheet with a calm mind, with a relaxed mind. You know what, your mental state is going to define if you will be able to retrieve the information or not. Okay, if you are in the panic mode, in that anxious, then it will be very difficult for you, right? How to keep calm? Just always remember, this is my strategy. I always used to say myself that okay, I have done my 100%. There's one thing that I always believe in: do your 100%. Be prepared for the worst. Okay, I know this may sound very negative, that okay, ma'am is saying be prepared for the worst. You know what, when you're ready for the worst thing, okay, this is what is going to happen. What worst is going to happen? You won't be able to clear. What if you won't be able to clear? What if we won't be able to? Nothing, nobody is going to kill you after that, okay? Nobody is going to, you will score less marks. Nobody is going to kill you after that. So be prepared for the worst, but do your 100%, because there should be no guilty. There should be no like, okay, what if I studied hard, I could have got more marks and all those things. There should be no things like that. Okay, there is no room for guilty in our universe. No room for guilty. We will do our 100%. We have given our 100%. We have studied hard. We have studied day and night. We have done PYQs. Everything that was that was demanded out of us. Now next thing is upon the God. Okay, leave it upon God, right? Just relax yourself. Okay, this is my strategy. Whenever I'm going anywhere, when I am preparing for any exam, anything, I give my 100%. Even when I'm taking the lectures, I give my 100%. I have made all these notes specially for you, right? Handwritten notes specially for you. I have given my 100%. But I was ready for everything here. I am ready for all the negativity, all the spammers. Why so? Because my brain is ready for that. That is the reason I am able to stand here. Okay? So same thing you should apply in your life. Okay? You have given your 100%. Now leave it upon God. Okay? Yes? Okay. Now let us do D and F block. Okay, bacha? Let us do D and F block. Yes. Okay. Very simple, very easy, very simple, very easy. I am going to do everything for you. Now see this. Okay. Firstly, this is Saptiv Karman Fico-Nicojon 21 to 30. Now firstly, the two exceptional configuration. That is chromium and copper. Here, because of half-filled exceptional configuration, argon 18, argon 18. Sorry, I said it in Hindi. So this is argon 18, 4s1, 3d5, argon 18, 4s1, 3d10. Fully filled and half filled are more stable. Next is, my throat is gone now. Okay, so now next is this size, the period and the group. How is the atomic size vary? Okay, along the period size decreases, then it is constant due to screening effect. Down the group size increases, then it is constant due to lanthanoid contraction. Due to lanthanoid contraction. Enthalpy of atomization, bacha, this is dependent upon the metallic bonding, that is equals to number of unpaired electron. And for d block elements, this is very high, right? Then is oxidation state, that is variable in case of d block element. Mn, manganese, shows maximum d block states here, that is plus 2 to plus 7. Okay, that is plus 2 to plus 7. And if it is including only s electron, that will be minimum state here, less oxidation state. If it is including s electrons and d electrons, that will be maximum oxidation state, right? Now let us talk about the electronic configuration stability, ionization enthalpy, and they will ask you a question regarding ionization and electrode potential. You will have to calculate the, you will have to write the electronic configuration when there is question based on E naught or you have question based on ionization enthalpy. Okay. If that element is in the half-filled or fully filled electronic configuration state, in that case, taking out the electron, that means ionization enthalpy will be very high. That is inversely proportional to ionization enthalpy. If that thing is in highly stable state, taking out the electron is difficult. That is why, okay, that is why E naught is very high here. Okay, wait. No. If ionization, it is half filled or fully filled, ionization enthalpy is high. Okay, so more is the stability, more is the stability, more is going to, wait. This should be, wait. We can't say this is inversely, okay? Just wait. I'm writing it here for you. Okay? So, everyone here, see this, okay? More is the stability, more is the electrode potential. You know this, more is the stability, more is the electrode potential. Now, more is the stability. It will be very difficult for you to take out the electron. So, more is going to be the ionization enthalpy. So, ionization enthalpy is going to be high for stable electronic configuration. Okay, but if you have something like D4 after gaining, if you have something like D6 after losing one electron, it is going to form more stable state, that is going to have less ionization energy. Okay, yes. Next, bacha, we have magnetic properties here. Paramagnetic unpaired electron, diamagnetic paired electron. Now that is equals to, mu is equals to under root n plus 2. N is the unpaired electron. If the unpaired electrons are 1, that will be 1.72, that will be 2.83, that will be 3.8, right? 4 will be 4.95, will be 5.9. That means it is going to be the number of unpaired electrons, that point something. Okay, 4 unpaired electron, 4 point something, 5 unpaired electron, 5 point something. Okay, unpaired electron cannot be more than that. Why? How can this be possible? We have only 5 orbitals. Huh? Okay. Now there are a few questions. Okay, theoretical based questions. Same question are asked in your PYQs. First is complex formation. Why d block elements form complexes? Because of small size vacant d orbitals. Why they behave as a catalyst? Because of variable oxidation state. Why they form alloys? Because of similar ionic radii. Why they show colored compounds? Because of DD transition. Except for KMnO4 that form colored compounds due to LMCT, that is charge transfer. Next is interstitial compounds. Why they form interstitial compounds? Because of voids are filled. Because voids are, they have spaces between them that is filled by some metals or non-metals, small metals and non-metals. Now, interstitial compounds, the properties are they're chemically inert, they are very hard, and they can retain the conductivity. Okay, so these questions are asked to you directly in your exams. Okay, bacha, understood this? Yes. Next is last page of today. Next is lengthenoid contraction. They can ask you what is lengthenoid contraction. What is lengthenoid contraction? Because f orbitals have poor shielding effect as compared to SPD. Now it has minimum shielding effect because it is not able to shield the electron from the inner nucleus. So nucleus is going to attract the electron and the size is going to contract here. The consequences of this are, the reason is because of poor shielding effect. The consequences are that the size of 4D and 5D is going to be almost similar. And out of this, which they ask, why zirconium and hafnium have same size? This is because of lengthenoid contraction, right? Okay. Next question that they can ask you is which is more, actinoid or lengthenoid contraction? Actinoid contraction is more as compared to lengthenoid contraction. Now, what is the reason? Why so? Because 5F have even poor shielding effect as compared to 4F, right? This is 4F, this is 5F, okay? 5F is so poor, right? So poor, it has so less shielding effect. That is why it is not able to, protect the electrons. That is why actinoid contraction is even more as compared to lengthenoid contraction. Now, here are a few reactions, okay, that you have to write. Now, go and write these reactions, because if you're not doing reactions of KMnO4 and K2Cr27, I understand. But do these 8 reactions at least, okay? Do these 8 reactions. Here we have, this is the preparation step of K2Cr207. This is the preparation, 3-step preparation of K2Cr207. This is the 2-step preparation of KMnO4. Okay, firstly, manganate ion is converted to permanganate ion either by electrochemical or by disproportionation reaction. Okay, here we have chromate, then the chromate is converted to sodium dichromate, then sodium dichromate to potassium dichromate. Very easy, this is very easy, okay. Firstly, you have chromate ion, then that is converted to dichromate, then that is converted to potassium dichromate. Okay, now here we have, firstly we have manganate ion, that is converted to permanganate ion by electrochemical method or by disproportionation reaction. Now these 2 reactions of MnO4 are very most important. If you want to skip all the reactions, do these reactions at least. Okay. KMNO4 is a very good oxidizing agent. In case of these two reactions now, these are your 2019 PYQs. That is why I'm saying if you want to skip this, but do not skip these 8 reactions. Okay. So now here we have, in case of basic solution, I negative is converted to IO3 negative, and in case of acidic solution, I negative is converted to I2. Okay, I negative is converted to I2. That is a main key point here, that in basic and acidic solution, KMNO4 behave differently, right? And this is a K2Cr2O7 with Na2SO3 and H2SO4. It is going to give us chromium sulfate, right? Okay, bacha, understood this?
So as you have watched the video, now if you like this session, then do hit the like button, share this video and subscribe to this channel. And you're also, if you're preparing for JEE Advanced, then we have Rank Accelerator book for you. That is for physics, chemistry and mathematics, and it has some really interesting questions for you that you can solve to prepare yourself for JEE Advanced level. But if you want to get this book for totally free of cost, then you can enroll yourself to Eklavya batch. In this batch, basically we solve this particular book in the class itself, in the live session. Doubt sessions are taken here, so that will be very beneficial for you if you are getting stuck in the questions of JEE Advanced. If you're preparing for just JEE Mains 2 attempt 2, then what you can do, in the description we have a link, that is JEE Mains attempt 2, just a batch dedicated to JEE Mains 2, right? Click on that, purchase that, because the batch has already started. Students are already enrolled in that and they are preparing, because we have very less time. Don't waste even single minute here, right? Okay then, bacha, all the best for your exam. This is Diksha Kaushal signing off.